DiVincenzo continued his hot shooting streak. He made 5 three-pointers tonight at 26 points to lead the Wolves. Julius Randle added 16 points, and Rudy Gobert had a huge double-double. 17 points, 15 rebounds, and a couple of blocks for Rudy. The Timberwolves beat the Spurs by 2 tonight, 112 to 110, the final score from Target Center. Welcome to Wolves Live with Rebecca Brunson. I'm Marnie Gellner. The Timberwolves and Spurs kind of went back and forth, little runs here and there. It was a close game throughout. The difference for Minnesota was the bench coming in and being so productive. Donte DiVincenzo having that season-high 26 points.
The bench came in and they really changed the pace of the game when they entered the ball game. They started playing a little bit faster. They shared the ball more. And that's where you can see where they were so important to this Wolves win. And when you look at the starters, all 4 of the starters scoring in double figures minus Mike Conley. So the starters did find some ways to be productive, but in a lot of those moments, it was playing with guys from the bench. It wasn't the starting group as a whole. Because when you look at them in comparison to the bench, the only starter that was a positive was Ant. He was a +1. All of the other starters, when you look at their net rating, were in the negative because the bench came in and they really set the tone for this win. I mean, the Donte DiVincenzo that we're seeing as of late is a guy that was expected to come and play here this season. When you look at what he was able to do last year with the Knicks, he was averaging 15 points, shooting 40% from 3. That's the version that we're getting now. It took him a little while to kind of get his footing and figure out how to get comfortable playing with this Wolves team, but now over the past couple games, we're starting to see that confidence grow. We're also starting to see Nas get back to a place where he's playing well because he had a couple games that were bumpy. Finished this game with 11 points in 20 minutes, 5-11 from the field. So the combination of those guys coming in, giving a boost in productivity offensively, and also playing really well defensively has been good for this team.
And the game came down to a final defensive stop.
Yeah.
And Donte DiVincenzo was on the court in the closing seconds again for the Timberwolves. And just moments ago, spoke with Katie Storm on the court.
Donte, another big win, a huge defensive sequence to close this one out. You guys have been in a lot of close games. How would you describe this one?
Resilient. Basketball's a game of runs. We just stayed together and, pulled it out at the end.
Back-to-back season highs for you. You've been tremendous. 25 points tonight, 5 of 10 from deep. How confident are you with that ball coming off your hand right now?
My confidence is always high. The guys are cheering me on, playing with a lot of swag, so I'm feeling good.
You're just telling me today how much your defense fuels your offense. Tremendous hustle plays on the defensive end. How much was that in play tonight?
Yeah, I think that, like I said, it feeds our offense. If we can get stops and we can get out and run and play fast, I think, we're very hard to beat.
You just used the word resilient earlier to describe your team. You guys have had a battle in these last 3 games. They have not come easy. Gotta love the fans here tonight too, right?
It's amazing. This feels like home, and, let's keep it going.
How would you describe the toughness of your team in these last 3 games?
Huge. There's a time of the season you come together to go apart, and I think we're coming together and, we're staying together and just trying to keep getting wins.
Great game tonight, Donte. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
A season high, 26 points for Donte DiVincenzo, and a 6th consecutive game where he has shot the ball really well, in particular the catch-and-shoot threes. Michael Grady and Jim Peterson, a 2-point win tonight for the Timberwolves, and another stressful, close, tight ball game for Minnesota.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I want to point one thing out, Jim. It was folks that would comment after the Christmas Day game. They said it felt like, a loss. It was a win. And even though the Wolves had squandered a big lead in that game, they found a way to pull it out. And sometimes even small things like that you can find confidence in. And so in a game that felt like a loss is now led to some momentum. They found a way to rally in Houston and then came back from an early 12-point deficit in this ball game, lost that lead, and then came back and closed the game out. There's something called resilience.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see it from this squad. They didn't collapse in Dallas, they didn't collapse in Houston, and they didn't collapse tonight.
And, had a game where Julius Randle, had 16 points. And, from the shooting standpoint, 7 of 16. Anthony Edwards, 6 of 20. He had 14. So in a game where you 2 scoring stars, combined for 30 points, you beat a really good San Antonio game. So you had other guys step up. And, we were just talking about Donte. and the interview by Katie, Dante now, second game in a row now, when he's come into the game in the second quarter, he played the rest of the second quarter and the entire, first quarter, played the rest of the second quarter, 12 minutes. And tonight, again, the same thing. And then third quarter, too. Come in the third quarter, play the entire third quarter, and then play the entire fourth quarter. So he's become the closer for Chris Finch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 2 games in a row they've done that with him. And so, he was a closer early, but, now he's the guy that's closing games again here. Chris Finch has a lot of faith in Dante DiVincenzo. And they needed him to be great, too. It's the whole thing that makes the Karl-Anthony Towns trade palatable, is that they weren't going to make the trade until Dante was thrown in. And so that's the cornerstone of that trade. And so now he's paying dividends. He's so confident. And it was so great to see this Minnesota crowd get behind him now.
Yeah.
And more than anything else, what really, vibes with us is we see him in practice and at shoot-arounds. His teammates are so confident with him right now. So, yeah, I mean, the bench guys have been great. They've been bailing Minnesota out a lot of nights. And you've now won 3 games. You beat Dallas and Dallas, impossible place to play, even without, Luka Doncic and getting hurt in that game. Going to Houston and playing, I mean, that is a really good Houston Rockets team. Come back from 16 down. And I said after that game, too, that's the kind of comeback and win that can change your season for the rest of the season.
No doubt.
So, you and I were talking about this earlier. People forget about, what Minnesota's records were, 3 years ago and then 2 years ago when they first got Rudy Gobert. They were sub 500 at this time at that point of the season. And my thing is, like, in Finch we trust. And it's not just something I just say. Chris Finch has had a way of figuring stuff out, Michael.
Right.
And making changes. So you can see it happening. And, unlocking Dante is just part of it.
Yeah, they're finding that rhythm. Dante's found his rhythm. He's getting more minutes and making the most of those minutes. And, again, it's paid huge dividends for Minnesota over the course of this 3-game winning streak.
Yeah.
He entered this game shooting 49% from 3 in his last 5 ball games. Then he knocked down another 5 3-pointers tonight.
Yeah.
Again, he was the difference maker tonight, Marty.
And another difference maker statistically in this game was points in the paint. The Timberwolves outscored San Antonio 60-40 in points in the paint. And a team that has Victor Wembanyama, you would assume, has a huge advantage, but not tonight. The Wolves were well over their season average, which is 44 points. Tonight they got 60, tying their second highest total of the season.
There's been a trend when the Wolves play San Antonio that they are not scared to attack Wembanyama. They continue to go at him and be physical and aggressive. And really on a night where the Wolves shot 25% from 3 outside of Dante DiVincenzo, the guys didn't shoot it extremely well. You have to figure out other ways to score. And that's going to be being aggressive. Rudy had 12 points in the paint. He also had 11 offensive rebounds, so he wasn't scared to put himself in there, sacrifice and find ways to get some extra points for his team. Then Randall had 14 points in the paint. Ant had 10, so Jaden had 8. So all of the guys understood that, okay, the 3-ball isn't falling, but that doesn't mean we have to settle for that. Even when you have a 7-footer in the lane, we're going to figure out ways to stretch out the defense, pull him out away from the basket a little bit, and then attack that way. And then when he's there, it doesn't matter. You saw the bully ball from Randall put his shoulder right in Wemby's chest and decided to go anyways. That's what it takes when the ball isn't falling from outside. You have to figure out ways to get there, get to the rim, get free throws, right? And that's where the Wolves really shined with the 60 points in the paint.
On Friday night in Houston, it was the 3-ball, 21 3-pointers, and it was just falling, and it was kind of what the Wolves rode all the way to the win. Tonight it was the paint points leading the way. We'll hear from Chris Finch. We'll get his reaction next.